I'm going to be one of the first people to say this, but energy lockdowns are coming and you better be prepared.
A new global lockdown is coming and it's getting serious. This time it's all about energy. Countries are rationing gas.
Now, they're going to call this temporary energy measures. We know that. However, remember, it was supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and it lasted 2 years.
So amidst the energy crisis, there are global lockdowns which could affect everyday Americans. Let's hear from some of them.
Okay, hold on a second. If we were in 2019 right now and someone made a video saying, hey, here's what's going to happen in 2020, 21, and 22, including the 2 week to flatten the curve, which turned into 2 or 3 years, and all the other crazy stuff, you'd want to hear about it, right? To be prepared, to be aware, to know what's coming around the corner. Well, we have an idea as to what is about to happen because of the energy crisis that's looming right now and really in the midst. So listen to this. The International Energy Agency released their Sheltering from Oil Shocks report on Friday. And they listed steps. This is kind of like when we have advisories coming out of the World Economic Forum saying, well, we should probably do this if we want to slow the curve. This is another version of that. And this is what they're suggesting to do to be able to slow or stop the effect of the supply shock. So this is a 10-point plan. And if we were to follow the plan, restrictions to movement would be apparent. Now, to clarify, some of this is not confirmed. Some of this is opinion. Some of this is conjecture. We're wondering how exactly this is going to pan out. But listen to this. You got to read between the lines. Alternating days that you can drive on the road based on your license plate. Speed limits lowered everywhere. This is just what they've tabled. It's not confirmed. It's not mandated or anything yet. Car-free Sundays was suggested. This says 40% of flights cut, but that's not confirmed, but there would be less air travel. Working from home is already being suggested in Vietnam, Thailand, and all throughout Asia. Carpooling would be heavily suggested. And also people would want to do that anyway if the price of gas and diesel is through the roof.
Yeah, people will also want to work from home, I'm sure. The one thing I'm sure people won't like is the cutting of flights. But to be honest with you, driving on alternate days is something that folks do in other parts of the world. I know in Antioquia, where Medellin is, in Colombia, folks do that or did that. Also, folks that live in walkable cities are used to simply not using a vehicle. It's a shame that a lot of places in America aren't walkable. The country was built for the most part with the car in mind, so you have to use your car, which is frustrating. But, if you can't drive and you can't get to work, I'm sure a lot of folks wouldn't mind working from home. In fact, there's a lot of folks who only have a car to go to work in the office, but if they didn't have to, that will save them an additional cost. So it could work out for some. I'm not sure it's all bad. But the fact that you lose that freedom and the ability to choose, that's what's bad. And that's because of one person. Let's be clear. That's because of one person or one party and what seems to be poor decision making. Every time I'm reminded of that group, I think of the song by the Cubans in Miami, Voy a votar por Donald Trump, ay por Dios. And now they're singing, Yo voté por Donald Trump, ahora mi wife, deportation, ay por Dios. It doesn't seem like anything's going well. It may be going to plan, his plan, but it definitely isn't going well. Did you think last year we'll be talking about an energy crisis and the inability to use your car when you please, or the inability to use energy in your home when you want?
I'm going to be one of the first people to say this, but energy lockdowns are coming and you better be prepared. With the conflict going on in the Middle East, oil prices are already rising, and countries in Southeast Asia have even started telling their residents to start rationing their energy and electricity. Now, you have to couple that with the fact that the United States just got a warning from Iran, basically saying that if we go after their power plants, they're going to go after the ones in Europe. Obviously, that would be horrible news. But if none of that happens, oil will continue to rise just based on this entire conflict and the strait being closed for how long it has been. Now, with the price of oil, everything else is going to go up, including, and more so, electricity. Just like COVID, they are going to basically tell you that you cannot go to work. You cannot use as much electricity as you're using. They have water bans in some places already, like California, Nevada. Hey, don't consume as much water. They're going to do the same exact thing with electricity, and they're going to monitor it and make sure that you don't use as much. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but this year we are having some wacky weather, and this summer is predicted to be one of the hottest on record. Couple that with the fact that our energy infrastructure is totally shot. Places like Texas, we can't even go an entire winter without our electricity shut off because the grid is too tapped out. Now, with all of this going on, this is being viewed as an opportunity from the elite. They want to hollow out the middle class, and they don't care that you can't afford your energy. They want two classes, the rich and the elite, and they want the poor people. They want to make this look like a third world country. So you need to have a plan in place. Obviously, inflation is going to go through the roof. There's two different scenarios. One, they're going to print a whole bunch of money and give everyone stimulus checks to help you afford the energy, in which case inflation and the value of all your money you have saved will completely deplete. Or they're going to keep at it with the high interest rates, and the debt will continue to rise, and the prices will, again, still dramatically go up. Get smart, have a plan in place, start diversifying where your money is going. Hard times are coming, so please be prepared.
Yeah, he's got a point. Hard times are coming. And it's interesting that he says this because this morning in the Wall Street Journal, I read a similar article that says the oil supply crunch is spreading from the Gulf to the rest of the world, effectively saying what this guy's saying here. And I think what people need to remember is that even if things stop tomorrow, it doesn't mean we're going to go back to normal tomorrow. These things take time. And for the time being, we just don't know how long this thing's going to last for. So there's this uncertainty looming, which doesn't help anybody. It does make me wonder, what were people thinking when they voted this guy into power? And has he done a good job since? Unless you're living under a rock or you're in complete denial, you would say, this guy's done a terrible job. This guy's done an absolutely terrible job. But it does beg the question as well, who stands to benefit from this? And I think to his point, you will see a further widening of the gap between the very wealthy and the middle class. So if you're in that middle, your best bet is to try to join the upper realm. If you're going to survive, you need to be honest with yourself. Do you want to be left behind? No. So you're going to have to get as wealthy as possible, ideally as quickly as possible. So you escape, because it seems as though that divide is only going to widen. Things are going to get worse for the people at the bottom. And if you're honest with yourself, you're not going to want to be part of that bottom.
I feel like we are on the precipice of everything changing. Just like how I kind of felt right before COVID hit, and then boom, everything changed. Most people had normalcy bias, and it took them off guard. But if you're paying attention to the news, you knew something was coming. Yesterday, the 8th largest oil refinery in the United States is on fire. With everything going on, you would think it would be attacked. They're not saying anything about it. Accident, whatever. For me, it's a little bit more real because I was just in the UAE. I saw the Fujairah petrochemical facility get blown up, seen it with my own eyes. I've seen these facilities on fire. These are major export and refineries. Like, the production that comes from these is supplying the world. Obviously, all these countries have a couple weeks of supplies, but in another 4 weeks and a month, when this inventory is down and this new inventory is not coming onto the market, prices are going to go a lot higher and things are going to change. Also, like with the toilet paper, everyone kind of sees that oil things happening. Hey, I'm going to fill up all my cars, get a little extra gas. Just that is going to cause a lot of gas stations to lose gas, and then people are going to make videos, and then that whole cycle's going to start. And I will say this: the one thing I've noticed between rich people and poor people is rich people take action, where poor people react when something happens to them. I talking to my rich friends, hey, I'm gonna buy this oil stocks, I'm gonna buy these oil tanker stocks, I might buy a Tesla Cybertruck, I might do this and this. Like, they're talking about making moves. They're not just seeing the information and doing nothing until it affects them. And a lot of people are gonna make a lot of money in this crisis because they're gonna move money around and they're gonna play the game, that needs to be played.
Yeah, but money begets money. So naturally, they have the money to do that. Not everybody does. So whilst I do understand where you're coming from, what are you trying to get at by saying that? Because somebody who hasn't got the money can only hypothesize because they haven't got the money to invest to begin with. So critiquing them for that doesn't really make sense.
So, there's not too much you can do. I mean, you can go out, buy some extra food. I mean, probably don't recommend storing a bunch of gasoline at your house. And, it is what it is, but definitely something's coming down the pipe. It's gonna, change society, the world. The world's changing very fast right now. And, I hope there's a peace deal. But the problem with a peace deal right now is there's multiple parties involved, and one of the parties doesn't want a peace deal. So it's gonna be a complicated situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not going to get better anytime soon. To my point earlier, even if they decided to call things off tomorrow. For things to get back into motion as they were previously, it's going to take time. And whilst it takes time, ordinary Americans are going to bear the brunt of somebody's poor decisions.
A new global lockdown is coming and it's getting serious. This time it's all about energy. Countries are rationing gas. Some are putting limits on how much fuel you can buy. Others are even grounding flights. Slovenia has already become the first country in Europe to implement fuel rationing. South Korea is doing the same thing. They're putting QR codes at the gas pump that limits how much gas each citizen can buy. The Philippines is trying to ground all flights because they don't have any fuel. American Airlines has cut flights by 5%. Governments around the world are trying to push work-at-home mandates to save fuel. Even the International Energy Agency is trying to restrict non-essential travel. Now, does this sound familiar? In 2020, we were told that lockdowns would only last a few weeks. It lasted years. Now, instead of a health crisis, we could be entering a period of peak energy, and that could be just as dangerous as a virus. The new world will be dominated by the power triad: compute, data, and energy. Energy is the foundation of everything. If oil prices don't start coming down, if geopolitical tensions continue, it will keep impacting supply chains, financial markets, global stability.
Yeah, that's true. But before you go pumping your money into data, AI, or energy stocks, be sure to do some real research on your own accord and don't listen to strangers on the internet. Having said that, we're talking about an energy lockdown. It's not here yet in the sense that he's talking about it or other clips that I've shown are speaking about this. We're not there just yet. We may get there. For all we know, things can turn around and get better a lot quicker than anticipated. So it's important to be cognizant of that too, because it's easy to kind of fearmonger and say the world's coming to an end tomorrow, which it may seem as though is the case, but it may not be as well. So it's important to keep that in mind. Having said that, what would be interesting to know is what you guys think about this topic. Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I shall see you in the next one. Peace.